Hi, I'm Andy Spalding. I'm a professor of law at the University of Richmond School of Law, and this is the Synopsis. We're here to discuss sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. When something like this happens, when Russia invades a sovereign country, we have to do something. We can't do nothing, but what should we do? The Western world and certain allies in Asia have opted for sanctions, trade and economic sanctions. Why this? We'll realize that sanctions, although they've been around for over a century, really emerged as a key tool of foreign policy in the 1970s under President Jimmy Carter, at a time when we had realized post-Korea, post-Vietnam, that military engagement is too often too complicated. And so sanctions are thought to be the next best option. What have we done here? We've imposed a combination, as I said, of trade and financial sanctions. Trade sanctions refer to restrictions on exports and imports. Financial sanctions refer to restrictions on access to assets and access to new financing, and we've imposed these generally on various individuals and companies and even sectors of the Russian economy. Will they work? Well, that in turn depends on what we think we're trying to accomplish. Sanctions can have a number of different goals, and they can be a complicated combination of them all. We distinguish sometimes between instrumental goals and expressive goals. Instrumental goals are trying to actually accomplish a certain thing, using sanctions as an instrument to affect a certain policy outcome. What might that outcome be? It can be ousting a leader, unlikely in this case. It can be reversing a course of action. It can be limiting a course of action, which is probably the most realistic goal here with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But we can also have expressive goals, which are really quite different. And expressive goals merely are using sanctions to express our disapproval of what has happened. We're not trying to change the outcome at all. We're just trying to signal to the world that we object. And we certainly have expressive purposes here in these sanctions. But even if we think about instrumental sanctions, which is what we tend to intuitively focus on, whether they will work will depend on a number of different factors, not least of which is the presence of the Black Knights. These are powerful economies that are not participating in the sanctions, that want to swoop in, as it were, and save the targeted country from the effect of these sanctions. And we've all seen this happen as Vladimir Putin was having caviar and toasting champagne with Xi Jinping. What is this signal? It signals that China is going to be the Black Knight in these sanctions. It is going to provide the goods and services that the Western world has cut off to Russia. What that means is that the economic impact of these sanctions will be much more minimal. But regardless, given the expressive power of these sanctions and given the West's resolve and unity, I expect these sanctions to be around for quite some time.
All right, that was 3 minutes on the money. Thank you, Professor.
Okay.
Excellent.